Brandon Graham had the greatest strip sack in Philadelphia Eagles history, slicing into the backfield and hitting Tom Brady's arm before Derek Barnett recovered and essentially securing a 41-33 Eagles victory in Super Bowl 52. Obviously, the first Super Bowl in Eagles history. Yeah. Anyway, BG now wants to get paid. He wants the moolah. And honestly, if there is a guy on the team that deserves to get paid, it's probably BG. And you know, he's probably pissed off that Vinny Curry makes more than him too. But anyway, let's talk about BG and what he brings to the table. So 3 years ago, he signed a 4-year extension worth $26 million, $14 million guaranteed. So a very, very cap-friendly deal that he signed. At the time, it was thought to be an expensive extension. I mean, if you remember, he was in Billy Davis's scheme when Chip Kelly was here, 3-4 outside linebacker. Not really his strong suit. He's more of a 4-3 defensive end. As he's shown in the last 2 years, he's had 2 career seasons. He can get after the quarterback. He can bend the edge. He can slice into the backfield as a defensive tackle. That's something that we've seen this season. And honestly, does anybody defend the run better than BG? The way that he can get down the line, absolutely incredible. So 4 years, $26 million, and you look at, you know, his ranking among defensive linemen on the team, he's number 4 in terms of the contracts. Number 1 is Fletcher Cox. Then it's Timmy Jernigan, and Vinny Curry is 3rd. It's not BG. So average per year for BG was $6.5 million compared to $9.25 for Curry. Tim Jernigan is $12 million, and Fletcher Cox $17.1. So the thing about Brandon Graham is that he is 29 years old, and if you hit him with an extension, you got to make sure to work it out so that you can get out of it after, say, 2 to 3 years, because obviously as a defensive end, once you hit that maybe 31, 32-year-old range, you start to decline. Now, the thing about BG, though, is when you compare his work total compared to other defensive ends in the league, at least the more prominent ones, he doesn't see the field as much, and he hasn't throughout his career. So, because he was a late bloomer. And even the way that Jim Schwartz rotates his defensive linemen, I mean, they're always fresh. So let's take a look at some of the higher paid defensive ends in the league to see where BG might end up in terms of average salary. And the other thing to keep in mind here is Eagles obviously have the least amount of salary cap space in the NFL. So if you sign him to an extension, I would think that the first year, this year, coming up, that he'll take a cap-friendly deal, so it would help in the re-signing of Nigel Bradham. But then after that, you know, he's going to get his money. And so let's take a look at some of the more prominent defensive ends in football right now. So according to Spot Rack, which is what I'm going to look up right now, the highest paid in terms of average salary is Olivier Vernon of the Giants at $17 million. Then you got Jason Pierre-Paul at $15.5, Calais Campbell at $15 million, Everson Griffin $14.5 million, and then you see a dip from there with Cameron Jordan at $11, Michael Bennett at $10.1. So I would think that BG would maybe get something similar to Everson Griffin, Cameron Jordan. You can certainly put him up there in terms of the defensive ends, especially with the way that he can stop the run. So you got a guy that maybe he won't get you double-digit sacks consistently. He had 9.5 last year. He does pressure the quarterback a lot. But what he does bring to the table that some of these other defensive ends don't is the ability to stop the run. And I mean, he had so many tackle for losses this year, just slicing right into the backfield, going down the line to make plays. I mean, he's extraordinary. He's a great football player, and he really has blossomed as his career has gone on. And you know, he's a prominent figure on that defensive line. So Everson Griffin, $14.5 million annually. Now his contract though is backloaded, so I would expect a similar type of situation there that Griffin got. So maybe you're looking at an average salary of say I don't know, 13, 14 million if he plans on taking a team-friendly deal if he wants to. This would be his third contract. But I would expect it to be backloaded. So if, let's say, he continues to play at a great rate, he would obviously be worth the money later on in the contract. So I would expect like a 3-year extension, something like that, where you can maybe get out of it after 2 years if he's not producing. But in my opinion, I think he's going to continue to produce. His 2 best seasons have been his 2 last seasons, and he's a perfect fit for Jim Schwartz in that defensive line. So I see BG's success continuing. I think he's going to get paid. I think it's going to be around $13, $14 million a season in terms of annual salary. Now, the first 2 years, it might be, say, $10, $11 million in terms of the average, but that probably will bump up because we know Howie, and Howie likes to backload deals. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on Brandon Graham. I do think it's the right thing to do to lock him up, and then you would have him. You had Fletcher Cox, Tim Jernigan, Derek Barnett, all those guys locked up until at least, say, 2020, I think it is. So all the talent is in place. I mean, we know that Howie handed out a bunch of extensions even a couple years ago, going back to Lane Johnson, Zach Ertz. All the pieces are in place. This team is built to win more Super Bowls in the next 3, 4, 5 years, the way Howie Roseman has structured everything. So the Eagles are in a great spot, and I do think that this contract will get done. They were talking about it potentially getting done this past during the season, but it never materialized. That the money went to Alshon Jeffrey and Timmy Jernigan. So BG is still waiting for his deal, but I think it will get done at some point. And the other kicker, like I said, watch out for the cap for this coming season to see if he'll kind of help out with that, so the Eagles can make easier decisions on, say, Nigel Bradham, because I think they're going to want to re-sign him. He's the number 1 priority this offseason. So there you go. Let me know what your thoughts are on BG. And, yeah, let's get him paid more than Vinny Curry. By God. Jesus. Man, how did he get a contract?